Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge television, radio, and podcast talk show. You can find us on television, Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Don't forget the podcast on thenewscasters.com and the radio station. Yeah, it's the biggest one right here in South Carolina. I almost said North Carolina because I lived there for a really long time. But anyway, they are the biggest in South Carolina, WZLA, and they are 92.9 on the FM dial. And I just kind of dig this station. So what I found out is there are some Alabama people who were listening to the station online. So when I talked to the owner of the station, I heard him on his morning show mention that. So I got in contact with him and I said, I think maybe I might have had a little something to do with that since I was living in Alabama. He says, I know you did. So anyway, catch them. It's a good show, good, clean fun. And I think you'll really dig these guys. They're really good at what they do. Okay, I've got Jody Powell with me right now. And I don't know, I almost didn't. We're friends now, so I just assume everybody knows, Jody is an amazing guy. And I'm just going to tell you that all the things he does, and I really like what you're doing. And the reason I like this, I mean, wrestling, for goodness sakes, most church, there are a lot of church, it's been like this great falling away of people who don't go to church anymore. Yeah. And so when someone tells me they don't, and they're expecting a fight from me, I guess, and I'll say, I understand. Well, they just kind of look at me like, huh? You understand? I get it. I know why you don't. And so I think ministries like what you guys have and Cowboy Church, I think that's why they're so hot right now. It's different.
I completely agree, Donna. And thanks for having me on. I love coming on the Donna's Edge and love being on your show. But yeah, it's just an opportunity to, again, spread the gospel in a way that doesn't make people feel uncomfortable. It brings you meet them where they are. You meet them where they want to be. And yes, the goal is for us to come to know the Lord and to be in church and to be under teaching and to do all of those things. But when you're trying to win souls for the Lord, I mean, the last thing I want to do is invite someone to come to church and it happened to be the son of the preacher's talking about the building fund. Yeah. How we all need to donate. It to someone who doesn't understand that culture and that mentality, looking from the outside in as an unbeliever who's trying to figure out their way in the world, you come into a place where you think that or you've been told that there's going to be salvation and there's going to be a great joyful message, and then you go in and it's about giving your money away to this organization, and it can be very off-putting. It can also be it can feel very Ponzi scheme-ish to the unbeliever. And so we just have to be careful in terms of how and where we invite people into our churches and when. It's always good to have a preview of what's coming up on Sunday, and you don't know that unless you know your pastor. That's the other thing you need to know your pastor. And sometimes that can be hard in a big church. There's a lot of bigger churches, a lot of these non-denominational churches with big congregations. You need to get to know the leadership of your church, not only for the benefit of witnessing and inviting people to church, but also to know who they are and what kind of theology message are they bringing every Sunday? And does that align with what you believe? And even if it doesn't align 100%, doesn't mean you have to leave the church. Doesn't mean you have to go somewhere. It doesn't mean you have to talk bad about them. You just have to discern and decide if this is where God wants you to be. And you also have to use that discernment inviting people to church. And should you invite them to church, or maybe invite them to a wrestling show and let them hear the gospel there?
That's what I've done before. You'll invite somebody to come to church, and because I'm always thinking, they'll be there. Well, Phil and I had invited this couple one time to come to church. And so I waited 2 Sundays on them to come. They didn't show up. Well, I had a business trip And I thought, they're not going to come anyway. So I didn't call them and tell them we weren't. Guess what? That's the Sunday they decided to come. And then she sends me a text, where were you? We were there. So, that could be an embarrassing situation. So you really can't assume anything. You know what I mean? The best thing for me to have done was said 2 minutes out of my time to say, we're not going to be there. I got a business trip. I got to go,
Yeah. And then opportunity to reinvite and to schedule that. But yeah, it's funny how that can happen. And it always ends up being a situation, at least what I've seen and what I've experienced. We've visited different churches, been members of different churches, and it always ends up being feeling like it's, oh no, we invited them this week and we weren't there, or they were doing the committee meetings, the business meeting after church, or whatever it is. And you think it's the end of the world. And God uses that too.
Mm-hmm.
God uses that too to move in people. And if someone, I always used to feel, Donna, when I invited somebody to church and they said, yeah, I just really didn't feel welcome, or I didn't feel like that was the place for me. I always felt personally responsible. Like, oh, I've let them down.
What did I do?
What did we do? How could we have wrangled them into the congregation? But that's also God just allowing that discernment to shine through, and maybe it is inviting them to church was the catalyst to them finding the right place for them to be. And it's not always at the church I invite them to, and you have to get okay with that.
Let's talk about what not to do when you invite somebody to church. I'm going to start with one. Okay, so people have invited us to come to church before, and we would show up, and it's like every 2 minutes they were looking at us like, do you like it? Do you like it? I mean, they were kind of, and it would be like, yeah, I like it. I mean, sure. Because I would think, well, I want them to think, I don't want to, let them assume the wrong thing that I want to start going there now. I've only been once. We've not even been through the entire service yet. But that's one thing. Don't do that. Don't look at them every 2 minutes and say, do you like it? Do you like it? Because it can push you. I've been there. It puts you on the spot. It
really does. And that's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that one. The looking around just to be sure, or even worse, when something is said that you're afraid might be offensive or might be off-putting, you look at it with this frightened look on your face, like, oh, you didn't hear that, did you? It's
almost like you feel like you're in an Amway meeting. Somebody invited you.
It's true.
I don't want to do multi-level marketing. It's like one of those things.
It's so funny because I think one of the things that is, as believers, we should be doing, inviting people to church, is putting ourselves in their shoes, especially knowing their circumstances. Hopefully you know them and you kind of know where they are and what they've been through, what their walk is, if they've been in church before, if they haven't. I remember my son, he is a senior at Coastal Carolina University, and he is part of an organization down there. It's called Change Makers. It's a great organization. It encourages young people to be change agents in their environment, in the world, in whatever they're involved in. If they want to see change, make change. And so they were involved in some fundraising for a local church, and did a wonderful, wonderful missions work for that church. And the pastor invited them to come to a service. And now there are about 4 or 5 of them that are in my son's friend group. And a lot of them are from up north. So they're Catholic. And so this was a Southern Baptist church, Donna. This is not a Catholic church.
A little different. Okay.
And very different. And so my son, before they went to sit and stood down, let me just sit you guys down and explain to you what's actually going to happen on Sunday, what you can expect versus what you're used to. And, I laughed at that a little bit because I thought, well, yeah, I would imagine there was a lot of differences. But you know what? What a great thing to do. If you're inviting somebody to your church, take 5 minutes to say, hey, let me tell you about what we do during service. Let me tell you about what to expect. And, some churches do offerings different. Some pass the plate, some have a box in the back, some just leave it up to you to mail the check. Yeah. But if you're not used to being in church and a plate comes by with all this money in it and you're looking around like, what am I supposed to? Thank you. I'll take a little bit out. I'll take a withdrawal. but giving somebody the heads up of, hey, here's what to expect, and here's what you can do, and it's totally fine to pass the plate on by without putting anything in it because you're a guest, and you don't have to fill out the guest card. Oh, I remember, Donna, growing up in church every Sunday, it was, let's take out the guest card and fill out this form, and I used it to play tic-tac-toe with my brother. We didn't, that's just what we did. But I started thinking about what is it that this guest card is going to be used for? And sure enough, you go visit, you fill out a guest card, and you get a call 2 hours after church from the preacher. Hey, what'd you think? And blah, 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 blah. And the sales pitch is on. Well, maybe let's do it a little differently. Maybe let's not put the pressure on. Maybe let's allow them to absorb what they saw, and a reach out is fine, but goodness, we don't have to, like you said, we don't have to Amway them to death.
It's a huge turnoff. We went to a church one time, and we just moved into Charlotte, North Carolina. So it was just right up the road, and we thought, well, let's try that one out. So we went, and apparently we went the wrong Sunday. This was not it was like not the time to do it. They were selling the church.
Oh my goodness.
So Phil and I were like, I said, I don't think we're supposed to be here for this. And should we walk out? I mean, what do we need to do? And they were kind of looking at us weird when we walked in. It was like, what are you here for? And we were kind of like, but we did leave. I mean, it was like, we were nice about it. We just went, like that, because, it's something we don't need to hear. And so,
well, if they were selling the church
or something, so people like us couldn't come in.
If they were selling the church, they may not be used to having guests. They didn't know what to do.
Who were these in there?
Who were these strangers? Yeah.
And then another one, they were doing some kind of it was like a Hawaiian theme. And so people started coming out with grass skirts and, and stuff like that. And so Phil said, I don't think this is going to be for us. And said, well, I don't want to be rude, and I don't want to leave now. I mean, so we got here. People are kind of staring at us, so let's stay. We need to. It's a guy thing, I know. You would have probably said, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. And that fight or flight, well, that flight wins a lot.
It does. And Phil usually wins on things like this. He'll go, well, then you stay. I'm leaving. I mean, that it's not because it was a little bit different. And I want to tell you, New York churches, even though they say Baptist on them, they're not like what we're used to. I'm just telling you. Yeah. So we go to this church. By the way, it was just beautiful. I mean, it was. We like to just, or we used to. We don't like to go to New York anymore. It used to be fun. That's when Giuliani was there, And so anyway, we step in, and I'm just raving about how beautiful it's just like, God, it's beautiful. It's like heaven on earth. Well, we get there, and they had a good service, and the people were friendly, But right all of a sudden, this music almost sounded like really jazzy kind of music. So this guy had on like tights, and he was a gay guy. And so he started walking up the spiral staircase, and he was doing this dance routine. Well, that was another thing. It's not quite like what we're used to, Right. And so anyway, I didn't dare look at Phil because I know what kind of a look he was going to have on his face. And I started looking up at the ceiling, and I'm going to tell you what, they had the most beautiful ceiling I have ever seen in my life. It was stained glass. It was just beautiful. And then as soon as, and Phil was like nudging me, let's get out of here. And I'm going, no, we're going to stay here because, it's going to look rude if we leave. And I don't want to look rude. And Phil said, these people will never see us ever again. It doesn't matter if we're rude or not. I said, it matters to me. I'm not going to be rude. I'm just smiling the entire time, looking up at this ceiling, how beautiful it was. Oh. So, sometimes, things can be a little bit different if people don't know what your church is like.
Yeah. We visited a church once, and it was when our kids, I have two boys, and of course, they're grown adults now, but when they were little, we visited a church and we're looking for a church home. And it just said community church. It didn't give a denomination, didn't give us an idea of what it was. And we'd always been, we'd always been Southern Baptist and went to a Southern Baptist church, but we were looking for something a little different. And we went in and this church was very charismatic. And I'm not saying there's anything that's not right with that. That's just not what we were used to. Our kids went to they had a little children's church in another room. And of course, my wife and I saw a lot of things in that worship service that we just weren't used to seeing. And it was good service, and we enjoyed that. We got in the car, we asked the kids to say, well, how did you like it? And my youngest, Drew, he was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 at the time. And he said, I didn't like it at all. I said, well, Drew, what do you mean you didn't like it? What was wrong? And he said, well, they made us pray with our hands up. And my arms got tired, so I just put my arms down. Do you think Jesus is mad at me for that?
Listen to the kids. They have special insight than we have. They absolutely do. Let's go into a commercial break. We're going to be right back in just a few minutes. Everybody hang in there, okay? We'll talk about more stuff about today, but we'll be right back.
Twin City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for 2 or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
This is U.S. Senate candidate Don Brown. This race for the United States Senate in North Carolina is a race of we the people versus they the establishment. The Constitution's first 3 words are not we the establishment, but we the people. And because of our great grassroots conservatives in North Carolina, I'm pleased to say that we have the establishment candidate that's being rammed down our throats by big money, Mike Whatley. We've got him on the run. As a matter of fact, within the last few days, the Whatley campaign appears to have spent millions on television ads going into a primary race, and even has enlisted the AFP, which is an anti-Trump organization, to go knock on doors for him. Our Democrat opponent, Roy Cooper, has not having to do this. Why? Because Roy's got no competition. We're about to take Whatley out. I need everybody to keep it up. Please go to the polls if you haven't. And if you have gone to the polls, please encourage others to go as well. We will win this by force multiplication. Also, while we don't have to raise all the money that Whatley has raised, we got to raise enough to stay in a boxing ring. So please consider donating to our campaign. You can go to brown4nc.com and just hit the donate button. But above all else, get to the polls, get your friends and family members to the polls, and everyone you know, Don Brown for the United States Senate. This campaign will be a victory for we the people and a victory for the United States Constitution. Thank you so much.
Donna's Designs offers a line of handmade memorial, wedding, and keepsake jewelry that launched back in 1970. I'm a self-trained jewelry designer, and I will work closely with you to create unique designs you can love and treasure for years to come. Whether that be flowers that were used in a funeral arrangement or stones you found on the beach at a memorable trip, call me at 256-659-4319, and let's think of the possibilities.
Okay, we're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Television, Radio, and Podcast Talk Show. By the way, did I mention social media? You can find us on all those platforms as well. Continue sending emails. This makes my day. Donna@donnasedge.com. Donna@donnasedge.com. I got to say something to you, Jody. A friend of mine's Catholic, okay? So she said, I know you're Southern Baptist and everything. She said, but we're having a women's kind of a meeting, and I would like for you to come and speak about crafts. And I said, okay, I'll come.
Yeah.
And I said, but they do know I'm like Baptist. And she said, yeah, I've already told everybody, and everybody's cool with it. And she said, in fact, some people send you on your show and all this kind of stuff. So everything's cool. I said, okay. Well, everybody was just kind of uptight, and because they didn't know what to expect out of me. I guess they thought I would, like, hellfire brimstone or something to them. I don't know what they were thinking. Use some of those rocks, to throw at them. And so the only thing I could think of is when people are just a little perplexed and they can't quite figure you out, humor goes a long way.
Yeah.
So I walked in and I said, now I know you all know I am a Baptist. And I said, appreciate you letting me be here today. I said, this is pretty awesome. And I said, I just don't really see a whole lot of difference between the two of us, really. And then I looked and I said, we do this too. And it was like there was food everywhere. I said, we have these get-togethers, and it's like 10 potato salads, and there's going to be like fried chicken. There's going to be, and I said, we're doing the same thing. I said, we do that at all of our, it relaxed everybody. I mean, they're all ready then.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just being friendly with people. I think sometimes you can walk into a church where everybody's afraid to move. And I'm that's when I'm going to sneeze. I'm going to cough. Something's going to happen with my asthma every single time I go into a church like that. But just being aware of other folks and making them feel comfortable goes a long way.
I think it does. And, I think a lot of times in our churches and just in our faith anyway, we are spending way too much time bickering with one another over trivial things. And things that just at the end of the day really don't matter. And so if we have someone looking at us from the outside in, an unbeliever that's coming in and they see all of this tension and this strife and this arguing over, just things that really at the end of the day make no difference in our faith, why would we think that they would want to step into a mess like that? We got to do a better job of being united and being friendly and being accepting each other for our different thoughts, while still maintaining the main thing. And I say it all the time. Just be about the work of the Lord. Just be about the work of the Lord. Don't worry about whether there's this whole argument over the end times and pre-tribulation, post-tribulation, mid-tribulation, when's Jesus coming back, all this kind of stuff. You know what? He's coming back, okay? I don't have all the details. I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen, but I know one thing, he's coming back. That's all that matters. So let's tell everybody all that good news.
There you go. And I kind of figured that if the angels in heaven don't know, I'm most certainly not going to know. I'm nowhere near the realm of an angel. So that's always my argument. I don't have a clue. God's just not going to tell me if he's not going to tell the angels.
Yeah. And I don't prescribe to be any kind of theologian or I didn't go to school for it, but you know what? Neither did the disciples. Neither did Paul, and so God can use anyone to share the message as long as we're being about the message. And that's the thing that just gets me. If we can just be about the Lord's work, then we're going to have the ability to talk to and share, and God's going to give us the words, and we're going to be a vessel, and it's going to be great. And it's not even going to be about us, as it shouldn't be.
That's true. And let's talk about babies in a church. Let's just talk, because when Brad was little, he could be a pain. I'm just telling you, he would, just talk and just whatever out loud, and I could pinch his leg off and he would still do it. So, and then you go to a new church and like people just stare at and look at you like you're like a terrible mother because your kid is like saying something. But I tell you one thing I liked at the Cowboy Church, when a baby would even cry, everybody would actually start clapping. You know why they clapped? Because they were glad to have youth in the church.
Yeah.
And they would always say this. The pastor would always say, let that baby cry. It's okay. It's not bothering anybody here. Just let that baby cry. And he would say, we're just glad to know that there's youth, because if you don't have youth in your church is dying.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It gets older every day, just like we do. And so there really needs to be this revolution of youth in our church and what they're about. And, I grew up in a time, Donna, when it was just so taboo to think that you could have a contemporary service. Oh my goodness, what are we going to do? You'd have one at 9:30 and you'd have the traditional service at 11, and then you got to split between the church. Listen, let's again be about the Lord's work, and whatever that looks like, whatever that attracts, whatever that brings in. There's nothing worse than, in my opinion, there's nothing worse to walk into a church and to see the deacon body stand up and they're all over the age of 75. And let's get some younger folks on there and get some energy for one, and some new ideas and some different ways of thinking about things, and using technology for the good of spreading the gospel, instead of warding it off because it's so evil. I think it's only evil if evil people use it, and it's good if good people use it. It's just like anything else. And so, I want our churches to be about finding people younger than me, finding young folks that are my son's ages, that can come up and be leaders in the church and bring about this opportunity for this to continue to be a growing and thriving church, versus one that numbers are dwindling every week because they're dying off, literally.
Literally. And can I say this for the parents? Okay, so let's just say your kids don't want to go to the same kind of church you go to. Like, it's just totally, it's different. I'm not talking devil worship or anything like that, but I'm just saying, it's just different than what you're used to. Don't say a word, because you might say something that will prevent them from ever wanting to go to any kind of a church whatsoever. Just keep your mouth shut.
Absolutely. You just be happy that your child wants to go to church.
I know. The church Brad and Larissa go to is not exactly the kind I go to, but I'm not going to badmouth it. I'm just not going to. That's go.
Yeah, we're instructed not to. It's frustrating to see people that run down a pastor, and whether they agree with him or not, or whether he's made mistakes or he hasn't. Most have, because they're just like us. But the Bible says, to be an encouragement, and that if there's someone that is propping up a false theology, that will fall away. The Lord will tear that down. And yes, we can call things out that are very, very obvious about theology and that it's contradictory to God. But if you just don't like the pastor, or you don't like his family or his wife, or you got something against him, just keep your mouth shut and move on. You don't have to tear down a man's ministry just because you have ill will towards them. That's petty, it's worldly, and it's wrong. And it happens too often.
I had a preacher one time told us, he said, I can always tell the people who badmouth me at home to their kids, because the kids go to church like they're scared to death of him. Don't do that. Just don't do that, folks.
Kids
do it.
Kids don't hide it.
We got to call it a day. But how can folks get in contact with you? And is there a website we can go to find out where your events are?
So yes, so I would love for you guys to come check out a wrestling show, Wrestling for Christ. You can go to our Facebook page, Wrestling for Christ on Facebook. You can just search us there and send us a direct message. It's the easiest way to get in touch with us. And we'd love to come and do a fundraiser, do events. We do a ton of events at churches, at fairs, at local events, civic events. We can set up our wrestling ring anywhere, and we'll have a full card with all the action. And right in the middle of it is a great message from one of our guys giving their testimony, or one of our guest pastors. We'll work with pastors at churches, local churches. If you want to invite us in, we'll let the pastors stand up, speak. Vacation Bible School's coming up this summer. It's a great way to end Vacation Bible School, is to have a wrestling ring set up and you have a show. And, we tied into those themes. We do that a lot as well. And so just check us out on Facebook, give us a shout on the DM there. And we'd love to be part of anything that you're a part of.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for watching. And thank you, Jody, for being with me. Okay.
Thanks, Donna.